Alright, again we'll try this. I have been trying to do a critique on the Bills, and I keep going over time. I have so much to say. You say, what are the Bills? Well, the Bills are the Buffalo Bills. They're my football team. I've been a Bills fan since the 40s. There's been a Buffalo Bills football team since the 40s. Well, there was a gap from 1950 to 59 where there wasn't any Buffalo Bills team, but I gotta chalk that up to hard luck. But the rest of the time, there's been a team. I remember the quarterback from the old All-American Football League, George Ratterman. In 46, 7, 8, he was the Bills quarterback. Darn good one, too. Trying to think. The Cleveland Browns, when the old All-American Football League closed and merged with the NFL, the Browns took old Ratterman, put him on the bench behind the Cleveland quarterback, which you would recognize, and I can't think of his name right now, but anyway, they didn't want him to go anywhere else. They didn't want to have to compete against him. So there was a gap of, say, from 1950 to 1959. In 59, there was the All-American Football, or excuse me, the American Football League was organized by Lamar Hunt and Ralph Wilson and some other disgruntled millionaires who the NFL wouldn't let them put teams in their towns, so they went out and made their own league, and pretty successful. And the Bills came into being, and people like Cookie Gilchrist and Jack Kemp, Ray Carlton, Tom Sestak, Elbert Dubinian. How many have you ever heard of Elbert? Well, these guys were the nucleus of the team that back in 64, 65, 66, they were the best team in the AFC. And I remember I had a roommate from San Diego, and of course they had Earl Faison, Ernie Ladd, all those big names out there, and the Bills would beat them every time. Just Hardy's feeling so bad. Anyway, the Bills, I remember, played the Kansas City Chiefs to see who would go to the first Super Bowl. And I always thought the Bills would be a better choice because they had a better defense, but it wasn't meant to be. And Kansas City just got plowed. Oh, we went along. Bad years. But the Bills had a lot of bad years. And then came O.J. And aside from his other shortcomings, he was a heck of a football player. I mean, he really was. And they did pretty well during those years. O.J. set all kind of rushing records. He was it. O.J. left, O.J. right, O.J. up the middle. But they did well. Once again, they fell on some lean years. Then came 88, the draft of 88. And people like Jim Kelly and Bruce Smith and Thurman Thomas. And, you know the bunch that I'm talking about. Fine. Cornelius Bennett. Just a bunch of good guys. And they came on the scene, and all of a sudden the Bills were competitive again. In fact, they went past competitive during the time frame from about 88, 89 to about 95. The Bills had the best one-loss record in the NFL, bar none. Of course, they did have one major problem. They set a record that will never be equaled. They went to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row, but they also lost 4 years in a row. It was terrible. Remember, I ran my own station in Dallas, and I used to put my Bills banners up and wear my Bills hat, and the Bills t-shirt. And of course, it was kind of tough eating the crow, but after a while, those times passed. Then the next big flurry was Doug Flutie. And Doug was good. He was a little guy, but he was a good quarterback, and they won with Doug Flutie. And Wade Phillips was the coach, I remember, and they had gone through the year with Flutie. And they went into the playoff game for the division championship. And Wilson called him up and said, you're going to pay the other quarterback. Rob Johnson was his name. We're paying him $1 million bucks a year. I want him in the game. So they put him in the game. And by the middle of the third quarter, it became obvious that they were going nowhere. So they put Flutie back in, and he had them ahead with about 30 seconds to go. They had just scored. Game's over. We're going to the Super Bowl. Except they had to still kick off to Memphis. And of course, I'm sure you've heard of the miracle in Memphis. They kicked it off. The guy from the Titans threw the ball to the other side of the field, and the other guy went down the sideline, touchdown. The Bills were crushed again. Well, anyway, lately, looks like they have possibilities. They need a couple of really impact offensive linemen. They have one of the best secondaries in the division. You don't pass deep on them. So if they get a couple of offensive linemen to kind of open up their running game, they have good receivers. Had Terrell to get rid of him, thank heavens, but Lee Evans is good, and I can't think of the other guy's name. They should be competitive. In fact, before we go any further, though, I want to show you something that I have that I suspect nobody within 1,000 miles of me has. And here it is. Da-da-da-da-da, Flutie Flakes. I have my Flutie Flakes box. That's what, when Doug was a big deal in Buffalo, they had Flutie Flakes. So anyway, I'm hoping that this year the Bills finally make it back to the Super Bowl and I can go up to Arlington, Texas and watch them beat the Dallas Cowboys. Wouldn't that be poetic? So, I never give it up, I never give it up, I never give it up. They're all the way with the Bills. So, anybody that believes me, let's hear it. Anyway, never say die, go Bills.